for joining us. Integration and what that means to me. Well, first of all, I think that it's so important that the idea of the integration circles. And when we first met Daniel through the podcast, we had our little kind of integration circle through the podcast. And I thought that was so awesome. The fact that you were actively having these meetings, integrating your community, these people that have been, they can't really talk about their psychedelic experiences, maybe with their family or loved ones. Maybe not everybody is as open to the medicine and what it can do for you. So, thank you for having that space, Daniel, because I really think it's super important work that you're doing, and just really proud to be a part of this, because there's been a lot of times where I've wanted to talk about my experiences about psychedelics and what it's done for me, as far as like how it's progressed my life, or how it's made me think differently, or activated my thoughts. But you can't really talk about that to certain people, or maybe the people that you want to talk to aren't accepting of that. So having to be quiet about it, it sometimes takes away a little bit of the magic. It kind of like snuffs the flame a little bit. So integration has happened carefully for me. Being a parent, when you are a parent and you engage in psychedelics, there's never a time where your kids aren't in your thought somehow, like whether they're in a safe place away from where you are. And if they are, what are they doing? Are they okay? When you pick them up, how are you going to feel? So like always thinking from that perspective also. But like integration just happens as a kind of, like you were saying, babe, like a constant every day, after a trip, leading up to a trip. There's always some kind of like what you were living in right now and bringing with you into this trip, those things mixed with the trip, and then the after the trip, integrating it back into your life. And it it never ceases to amaze me that after each trip, um, you think you know something amazing and you're going to go do something fantastic, and you do. I do. um, but you just find out that you're just as wet behind the ears as last time,
if not more.
yeah, that revelation and all that integration work that you've done. You're still always a student when it comes to the medicine. And so I think integration is infinite. It's ongoing, and it looks like so many different things. And I mean, we can get specific. Some of the integration tools like that I use are, a lot of the times I get messages, during psychedelic trips, or therefore like shortly after or leading up to it, in yoga postures. It's kind of like the way that my body speaks. I speak through dance, but these yoga postures, and I feel like they contain certain messages that kind of like a letter can be deciphered. And so when I'm in these certain positions, it's an attunement. I'm attuning to a certain frequency,
like an antenna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And picking up these messages or signals. And when you receive these messages, you have to digest them. There has to be some kind of a period where you didn't know this information. Now you do. Now what do you do with it? And what do you do with it doesn't always come quickly. Sometimes there are spontaneous like light bulb moments, which they feel so good and they're amazing. But then there's, again, going back to the integration, I think we can kind of reference this like the whole time, going back to these integrations. It takes time to digest something.
I think you bring up a good point. Like those things, sometimes require a soft touch. The medicine will speak to you softly, and other times you get hit over the head. And there's those messages and moments where I guess I'll give you an example. So for me, my preferred method of taking psychedelics is taking them at live music and dancing. And in that live music space, when a band is playing and the crowd is grooving with the music, and there's that telepathic communication happening between the audience and the band, there's a space that happens inside of that that's singular. It's mine. It doesn't belong to anybody else, but it's inside of everything. And just like Mel in her yoga postures, when I'm dancing like that, I'll get downloads. And the downloads that have been the most profound, right? The most like in the moment, my teeth are vibrating and I can feel the light coming out of me, and the band is responding to what's happening. And the download comes and you could feel it wash through you and push out and move, and it's breathing and it's happening and it's alive. Those big ones that happen like that are the hardest for me to integrate.
Is it because of the gravity of it, or like what about it?
I wish I could answer that question. I don't know. It's almost too real. If that's like the best way that I could say it. It's like, it's almost everything that in the ego is kind of gone, not gone, but just pushed back a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's so deeply real that when the default network starts to kick back in afterward, right? The irregular thoughts and whatever start to come back in. It starts to get washed away. And the bigger the moment, the easier obscured it is later on. The little light touches, those stick with me. Those little moments of like, where the medicine tickles you and you giggle. I have 1,000 of those now. But
those are fun.
Yeah, those are awesome. But the integration of the totality of your being.
Well, because those are requiring so much change. And it's not anything that you know what to do at first. You just know that you're gonna like, oh shit, this is gonna get like, I'm gonna have to wake up at like fucking 3 a.m. or something. Like,
take cold showers and meditate.
This is like gonna require me changing my entire lifestyle, and those integrations they truly are the hardest. And so I could see how that could cause a little anxiety or fear or trepidation, or leave that mark in there, because it's like causing this kind of reaction that's like, oh my gosh.
And it's almost like I guess I'll just call it the default mode. Like that default you, when those big ones happen like that, right?
Yeah.
The default you is like, no, hurry up. Let's go get pancakes. Like, let's get grounded. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do know what you're saying.
Let's call it, man. That was too heavy.
Yeah.
But if I'm being honest, that's the reason I'm going in.
Yeah. You're wanting a major change.
Yeah.
So what is it in us that wants it and pushes it away at the same time? I mean, I'd love to hear any kind of responses. We're constantly in conflict with wanting the thing that we don't have, whether it's like a certain power or a certain knowledge or a certain physique or a certain lifestyle. So all these different types of things that we want. And then we might achieve 1 or 2 or 10 of these things. But that 11th one, though, that 12th one, though, that 15th one though. And so it's a constant, like you're on a unicycle infinitely. And the only time you can get down is not.
And you're off road.
Yeah.
And you have a blindfold on.
So, I mean, and you're pretty damn good. You've got succumbed to these circumstances, but at the same time, everyone needs a break, you know? And so I think using psychedelics has definitely helped me reset that mindset.
What do you mean? What mindset?
The mindset of but this, but that, the
yeah.
one more thing, but only if I did this, or if we went to see that, or if we could do this, or if I could have the baby here, or whatever. Yeah, I was thinking about little Jasper. Yeah. But these like kind of out of reach moments, and I feel like psychedelics for me kind of it grounds me after bringing me out of my head.
That's a big statement right there.
Why?
That's huge. So think about what you just said. Psychedelics ground me.
Well,
I mean, that's a big deal. Right
I guess I mean, after the initial high and where it takes you, you know, psychically, there is a coming back down. Make no mistake. And however we do that, whether we eat our foods or whether we fall asleep and wake up, whether we, however, you know, however we do it, we ground. And in that grounding, I've like extracted some information and some nectar of that experience, and it further pulls me into who I am, which in further makes me feel closer to nature, closer to earth, closer to like whatever the one is, you know.
You could say the G word.
Well, the thing is I'll be honest, in this stage of my life, I'm 42 years old. I was raised Lutheran. My mom's Catholic, was raised Catholic. We have all these different. I've experienced all. You
married a Jewish guy.
Yeah, I married a Jewish man. And so did one of my aunts. So like I was around the Jewish, you know, lifestyle my whole life. And then of course, you know, dabbling in other things growing up and into magic and tarot and yoga and I feel like I don't have the proper word to call whatever energy is out there. I don't know. I think that like not being able to write the word is the most proper way to speak it, because I don't you know,
I don't know. It's changed a million times.
The great one, the you know, the almighty, the whatever is there. I feel more connected to that after I go out of my head.
Yeah, I I have to agree. And you know, in talking about these monumental experiences, right? And I'm approaching 50. I'll be 50 this year. And it's really caused me to be retrospective and introspective of my whole life, but also my psychedelic journey as a whole. And because of that that's the reason that I gave the answer that I gave all of you guys today of what integration means to me. It's the whole trip. And I have the benefit of hindsight now to see behind me and see how certain journeys that I've taken in my life have reshaped and reformed my personality into the person that I am today.
Yeah.
Right. And I also have the benefit of hindsight to see the things that psychedelics have taken from me, because that's something that we don't talk about very often in polite society and, you know, polite company.
Well, let's talk about it. What do you mean taken from you?
So like I said, there's a price. You don't get anything for free. No knowledge comes to you without you having to give up something for it.
Time, money, both.
Something.
Yeah.
And
Which, if you're going to gain something, you should absolutely know that you should,
It's
and
an
you should,
energetic
yeah, you should
exchange.
want to give.
Right. But like I said, it's not something that we discuss. Um,
Why not?
I don't know. And
We're
I know
discussing
that
it now.
I know. And those of you that are in the scene or whatever, we've seen the casualties around the lot. We all know that dude or that lady. It, it happens. And like Mel said, it is a unicycle.
I want to get a little closer and read some of these things.
It is a unicycle. And for me, I think it's tough, man. It's taken some of the it's happening right now, language from me.
So, can I hop in?
Yeah.
Yes, please. These are too far, and I'm sure there's some really good things in here.
Well, I just love that Aaron is quoting the Yoga Sutras right now. So there's
totally on purpose, Daniel.
Well, there's, you're like, I don't know much about yoga except like this thing called renunciation that means like anytime you want to do something important, you have to give up something else.
Right.
Like it's like, like everybody who chose to be here could have been doing something else.
Absolutely.
Totally.
You could have been doing something else. I could have been doing something else. And we chose consciously that like this was like this was the best option.
Right. And I think part of the thing that I'm talking about that I'm trying to get to is when I say we don't talk about this, in these circles, we are discussing integrating, even if it's a difficult trip, we're discussing the positive aspects. And there is two sides to everything. And so if the information that you're seeing is painting a picture for you that is completely sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, and you go into that thing thinking that, you're going to get your ass handed to you.
Sometimes.
Well, eventually, if you keep it up, smart guy.
If you keep it up,
the
thing is even greater than that is there's no guarantee.
No,
you could get sunshine and rainbows 7 times out of 7, and you never go for the 8, and that would have been the time.
Yeah,
but
in one way or another, it's gonna have a price extracted, whether it's you missing something you could have been doing because you were doing that thing. Like it's macrocosmic and microcosmic at the same time. And
what kind of prices have you paid?
Like I said, it's taken some language from me.
Okay.
And it's I've noticed as I get older, there's a slowing that in my, like, I can think it really fast, but it's hard for me to say it. And I don't know if that's just from getting older and whatever, or if that's
so why are you blaming it?
Because it sure feels like that. And I think also, and this is something that I've integrated into myself over years. So the name of this talk is Whatever You Do, Take Care of Your Shoes. And we were going to talk about, there was going to be 3 of us, but we're going to talk about difficult journeys and how we've integrated them. And I'll give you an example of what that is. So in 89, I walked into my first Grateful Dead show. This punk rock kid with a mohawk and a Misfits t-shirt that with a fucking chip the size of New York City on his shoulder, and knew everything, and hated the Grateful Dead, hated country music because that's what it was. And my friends puddled me in the lot and ditched me. And I walked into the show and they were playing Feel Like a Stranger. And I was done. I was completely exploded open in that moment. I was exposed in front of 35,000 people in the Los Angeles Forum, and nobody gave a shit. And it was the most beautiful, terrifying experience I ever had in my life to that point. And when I left there that night, I was completely different than the kid that walked in there. Um, it completely altered the trajectory of the rest of my life. And all I wanted to do was be around that thing. And I was under the misconception that in order to have that magic happen, I had to be high. And I am the type of person that I don't do half measures. I go all the way with things that I do, or I don't do them.
And then a little bit more.
Yeah. And then a little bit more. And so I went back to Vegas where I lived at the time, sold everything that I owned and bought a school bus and was like, I want to learn this thing from the inside out. I want to know how this works. And proceeded to go on tour. And one night back in LA, I ate a bag of Liberty Caps, not knowing that they were Liberty Caps. And went into the show and had a great time, and came out and they hit me 3 hours later. And I started to dissolve, and I was 19 years old and didn't have the tools to respond to that in any eloquent kind of a way. If you can respond to that in an eloquent way, I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not. And ended up at somebody's house that I didn't know. And this is the first time in my life, like, I knew real panic, like terror, just like being blown apart, and then being with people I didn't trust and know. And I was like shutting down while opening up. And those two things don't go together. And
I think maybe that's the combination of.
Oh, it gives me this hair standing up on my arms right now thinking about it.
You do shut down and blow up.
Yeah, but this was not pretty. And ended up falling down a flight of stairs, like passing out down a flight of stairs and smacking into the front door of this house. And woke up on my back, and like everybody's standing around me, and I'm that asshole at the party that, at least I wasn't naked. And ended up in the fetal position in the back of my car, like just dying basically. And
why do you say dying?
Because that's what was going on.
Okay.
And after that night, it caused like PTSD for 15 years after that. Not knowing how to integrate that experience, not having a circle of people around me that knew how to care for that trauma, and not having support or language to be able to deal with what happened, broke me for an extended period of time, to where
changed you.
I didn't know if that, like, this is it, you're broken. You broke yourself, but through finding community again, and finding a circle of people that understood and cared and knew what that was how I put myself back together over many, many years. And that thing, that whatever that is such a integral part of who I am now, in the best way possible. It made me, I attribute that thing to why I wanted to start No Simple Road. Because if I can do something, if there's somebody out there that feels like that, And us talking the way that we do open about the shit that we go through
Yeah.
can mitigate that circumstance for one person out there, then fuck yeah, man. And that's the danger that I'm talking about. That's what I mean when I say it can take
The
something for
price.
the price, right? Um, it is not all sunshine and rainbows, man.
Well,
You've been there.
yeah. So what's the opposite of a rainbow? Do you know, Daniel?
Well, I mean, what I'm hearing, so I can relate. I mean, I 6 of my stories flew through my head as you were telling yours. And there was sometimes, why do you use the term dying? It was like, why do you think? That sort of stuff. It's like, oh yeah. But it's really interesting. We've been talking to a lot of therapists and ceremonialists over the course of the day, and will over the weekend. And there's a particular kind of integration for folks who do some MDMA on the couch with the therapist, or some psilocybin with an underground guide somewhere, or something like that. And they do that once a quarter or something like that. And that requires a particular kind of care. The kind of care that is required for like psychonauts and berserkers and tour kids who are, like you said, just getting puddled just because it's a Sunday show.
Yeah, well, you don't miss a Sunday show, Dave.
Right. So you know what I mean? And so like that kind of exploration and wildness and lack of regard for set and setting in the traditional sense requires a different kind of integration and a different kind of care, and can be really beautiful. Like it can unlock some stuff. You can learn things about you quick. You can learn some things about yourself quick, and what's important to you quick, and who you are, and like you can really up level, and you can also done break yourself.
Yep.
And you really never know until later, which it was.
Yep.
Dude,
even when you do it properly in a setting that's beautiful, you can done break yourself. And
well, also there's a dosage kind of issue as well.
Yes, but I mean like proper dose. Nothing happened crazy. Whatever happens in your mind, that's what breaks
it's
you.
Like, it's like a tame bear, right? Like the bear is cool most of the time, and he rides the bicycle and like plays the horn and whatever. But that one time, like everything was the same. I don't understand. He just ate the guy's face. Like that happens. It does. And there's no there's no rhyme. I
was going to say one of mine, because you can have, even with like the proper intention and setting, things can go terribly wrong. Ugh. And you sit there and it's like somebody who's very analytical, you try to intellectualize it, like why did it happen, this fate, blah blah, all this stuff. But it was for the Dead and Company shows in Chicago.
No, they wasn't even.
Oh, no, that wasn't even that. Yeah, that's right. It was Grateful Dead. That's right.
The last Grateful Dead show ever on the planet.
That's right. Or that's right. Soldier Field. What night was it? The second night?
The last night.
And we had this whole plan of like having just like this ceremony, this rededication between Aaron and I. And it was just like kind of like our thing. Our little group went. It was Sydney's birthday weekend, also our daughter. She brought her boyfriend at the time. We had a whole like posse with us. It was like 7 people with us that flew to Chicago. And so we're going to do this beautiful thing. I buy this beautiful dress. I make myself up. And the day just wasn't shaking out to be. It kind of started off rough.
We had taken MDMA the night before, and we were kind of funky.
Yeah, it was like, driving in second gear the whole time when you should have been in third. Yeah. And so, when your expectations are high.
Set and setting's awesome.
Set and setting is amazing. You intentions are there because everybody's like, make sure you do things with intention, and I absolutely believe that and follow that. But other things happen. Other things beyond your control, like the weather, like the people that you bump into, like, things that, a phone call that you may get that you don't expect. All of these things are integrating into your trip. And so we're sitting up on the bleachers. And I mean, I don't know, like, what literally was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Psychic energy of 75,000 people.
All I know is that I didn't want to be with Aaron anymore. That was it. We couldn't do this anymore. One moment we're getting married, the next minute I'm literally trying to run away from him in the sea of people. With an entire row of people with us. And the show about to start.
No.
It was in full fledged.
It was second set, and they were about to finish. Yeah. I remember this.
So see, Aaron remembers. There's just all this energy and all this intention and all this expectation wrapped up in this moment, and you take your sacrament because it really was a sacrament, and it just did not pan out the way that
took a dump.
Yeah. Needless to say, the ceremony didn't happen. I ended up running off and being found by my daughter. And
I found you. You screamed at me in the hallway. Yeah. Told me I was a wizard and to get out of your head.
Aaron doesn't want me to tell the condensed version. I'll let you tell your side of it too. Fine. But yeah, I did accuse Aaron of being a wizard and being in my head. That is a true accusation. I still believe that. I still definitely believe that.
I once had to make amends for telling my buddy he was the devil.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, in all fairness, it was Halloween and he was wearing like an all red tracksuit and a red headband.
Well, and it's fair to I'll take the wizard badge.
You've been calling yourself a wizard for years.
Whatever. But during the last song, man, like, anyway, no.
It was like a bubble about to burst, and it burst when it did, and it was the crescendo, all the energy there. And both my trips that I remember that were any kind of a negative slant were involved with Grateful Dead or Dead and Company, some form of the Dead. And I'm not blaming anything on that. What I was going to say at the end of that was there was a huge integration. There was a different understanding that occurred between Aaron and I because of that explosion. And it needed to be dramatic, and it needed to happen there for whatever reason. It needed, this was kind of at a time where the Grateful Dead was just getting back into your life. And so I know that he told the story about when he was, 18 and stuff like that. But when Aaron and I got married, music and it wasn't a huge part of our life. So, not music in a different way, not necessarily that. Yeah, music's always been a huge part of our life, but just differently.
Well, you got to qualify. I mean, not everybody knows us.
Yeah.
And so when Mel and I got together, I had been a homeless heroin addict on the streets of Vegas. So music, I wasn't thinking about going to Dead shows.
Yeah, you're thinking about survival.
One thing.
And I was a single mom with a young kid, so I wasn't thinking about going on tour, or being in the lot. That just wasn't my reality. So this happened a little bit later on in life. This kind of, being musically inclined and tripping while being high with music and all that. I kind of forgot my train of thought there.
It's okay. I'm with you.
Yeah. Where I was going with that.
It's a huge circle that happened. And, coming back to the music and all of it, and also like that experience at Fare Thee Well, that is the perfect example of what we're talking about with set and setting not being right,
and the integration part. Let me go
trying to put that shit back together after it happened.
Let me go back. So I found my train, integrating that, what was once an awful experience in the moment. It was not awful, but like
very
it was
disappointing.
It was harsh. It came at me like a freight train. It was very intense feelings. These were all very intense. And then to integrate them back, creating a new understanding between Aaron and I going forward. And so at that time I didn't realize it, but like Aaron mentioned earlier, hindsight, going forward, we had a new understanding, and that was the pivotal moment. So we were using MDMA as therapy for us, and we didn't realize that. That wasn't the very first time.
It wasn't like, hey, let's take MDMA and have therapy together.
No, that wasn't the first time that we had gotten an amazing progress through using them. But I think it was from that moment that it was just like, wow, this really has a powerful effect. More than just the 3 to 4 hours that you're on it. This has a lifetime effect and can be so amazing, even in that dramatic and traumatic experience.
Yeah. And I remember whatever happened there happening from my perspective, obviously.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about it afterwards for a while. It was so salty and such a big deal.
Yeah,
it was like, okay, we're just going to leave that there, and we'll come back to this at a later date. And it actually was on a night that we had taken some MDMA at home together that we started discussing what actually went down. And I think Mel and I have been married for 23 years. I don't think that. I know that Mel and I have been married for 23 years. In those 23 years, I can attribute the fullness of our communication to taking MDMA together.
I have to agree with that. The fullness. And maybe not just MDMA, but I would say psychically exploring together.
Yeah.
That really, because MDMA has been a major role, but just being with you and exploring any kind of psychedelic medicine has progressed our marriage and our communication that much further.
Yeah. And I mean, for those of you out there that have never done it, one of the things that that it has done for us, there's those things that you don't want to talk about that have happened.
Oh yeah.
And every marriage has them, and if you're together long enough, and those are the things that poison the well.
Oh yeah.
Love is beautiful and it can conquer anything,
but it can be sloppy.
And if there's shit in your well, over time it's going to poison it, and that stuff builds up. And so what MDMA served for us was it softened our hearts toward each other. It broke down a wall that stopped us from wanting to communicate, where in the moment of that, we just felt like, why wouldn't I tell you everything? Like, I'm just going to tell you why. And the pain of it, I didn't feel the pain of it. It was not personal. It was discussion.
Yeah, it softened and opened our hearts to the point where we could talk about something that was so painful that, that had occurred. And it was so much more understanding and empathy and consideration for the other person's feelings. And in that situation, it was almost like being able to step out of the hurtful reality of the situation and listen to the facts of why it actually happened, and give that couple like a hug. give that couple permission to grieve for each other and for themselves, and I desperately needed that and didn't realize it. Aaron, I know, desperately needed that and didn't realize it. And after doing that, it was like, I can't even believe that you can pay for that. Like that kind of feeling and relief and understanding
and release
and release and like reconfiguration. Even that's what it really felt like. It took all of those reasons why you can't, you shouldn't, you'll hurt, that you whatever, and it just reconfigured all of those disbeliefs into something that was so beautiful and tender. It was very tender.
And that's one of those that I didn't need to, it didn't disappear afterwards.
Yes.
It wasn't smoke. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that one stuck. And I've noticed that with, like I said, with MDMA specifically, those moments of interpersonal communication, when you get to that level where the walls have come down and you're talking like soul to soul, and there's no bullshit in between you anymore. There's no mask. It's just happening.
No need to protect
those things stick, and you carry it with you out from the veil.
Oh yeah.
Afterward, like you have your little travel sack and you've got something in it when you're coming back.
Yeah, because we talked earlier about like the price that you need to pay for, engaging in these. These are some of the benefits that you reap for going through that journey, and personal change and transformation is a huge part of that. That's honestly always my motive. I want to address something. I'm not always like, let's have a party, even though I'll party any day of the week. I love to party. But what I'm saying is when I'm engaging in psychedelics, I want to learn something about myself. I want to master something. I want to get better at something. I want to have, my mind blown.
That's something, we only have a few more minutes,
okay.
But that's something that I want to bring up before we're done.
Yeah.
Coming from where I came from and the scene, there was not a lot of reverence around the medicines.
Yeah.
It was
too bad.
A 10 strip for 50 and here's your puddle, bro, and off you go. And it may seem hokey to you or woo or whatever, but giving proper respect to something only increases its value to you. And
its energetic exchange.
And I really believe that the community that we're all a part of, when we start doing that it can be extremely even more powerful than it is wave of change for the planet that we're on. Because let's face it, when we're all at a concert on psychedelics, we are the modern equivalent of dancing around the fire. That is ritual. It's happening. And those psychic ripples are going out across the entire planet. And if we, as a community, ascribe worth and respect to the medicines that we are partaking in, that are getting us to that place that we love so much and many of us call home, the world can really benefit from that. And so can we personally. And I think that's where it all starts, is us personally, and then the world can change. And fuck, man, we need it right now. Shit is super weird out there. And
Raising your vibes with your partner, your best friends, yourself in this time is one of the best things that you can do. So I'll leave you guys with that, party and have a great time and psychedelic fun, but always, have reverence, like he said, and yeah,
Whatever you do,
take care of your shoes.
yeah, man. You got to, because then you want to have fucking shoes. It sucks. Not had shoes.
I've had my shoes stolen at Highgate, Vermont.
Oh no!
I had my shoes stolen.
They probably did. They didn't probably do it on purpose, did they? They thought it was.
Oh no, they stole his shit for on purpose.
You know how quick they got it? So I was at Highgate, Vermont at the Dead Shows in '95, and I was in this Volkswagen with the Westfalia, and the doors were locked, but you would just climb up and you'd go in through the camping thing, and you'd go in, you'd open the door.
Right.
I took my Birkenstocks off. I climbed up onto the Westfalia. I unzipped it. I opened the door. My shoes were gone.
Okay, so they meant to do that.
Like that.
Yeah.
I was trying to give somebody the benefit of the doubt.
No.
It's like, how do you even try? Nobody was around.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
sorry we didn't get to read any of these questions or comments, because I really would have loved to have more participation, but I'm so far away I can't read any of these things.
And everybody just loves you, man. I mean, do you guys see, those of you who are watching, you see why I invited these guys? Thank you for opening your hearts. Thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty.
Oh, thank you.
Respect to you for showing up.
We're gonna show up for sure.
Removing self-judgment. A beautiful story about how MDMA and psychedelic medicine helped your relationship. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Oh, sweet. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that, because I enjoyed telling it. It's a huge part of why Aaron and I are more like a unit. We're definitely individuals, but we work together as a unit because I feel like we just have a beautiful psychic understanding between each other and a great respect for each other on that level.
I mean, the vibe of the three of you.
Oh, Apple's definitely Aaron's other wife.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's a family vibe. I don't know what he's doing there, but he's there. And it seems to work.
Whatever, man.
But people ask me, what my favorite podcast, what's your favorite podcast? And I think that they're expecting me to name like a psychedelic science podcast. And I was like, oh, it's No Simple Road.
Daniel.
Hands down. Like I told you guys this, but and some of you who know me, in July, I moved my family across country in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of civil unrest with a 6-month-old. It was difficult. It was really, really hard. And I listened to No Simple Road through that, because it's like, I feel like, when we get the chance, we get to talk every once in a while, not a lot, not enough, but oh well. But it's kind of like being this heart space that you guys are seeing them do right now is like their default mode. I've had Aaron get grumpy with me like once, but okay. But it only goes to show that, like, he's human, but like, I mean, the soul and the heart, it's just like, it's so good to be in that vibe. Like, that's the vibe that, I grew up on. And like, that's the integration. I feel like is like, are you carrying the vibe that the medicine asks you to?
Wow, Daniel. I you know what? That's rad. That means that's a heavy statement, and that means a lot. And I feel like that's really important. It's like one of the reasons I got frustrated with Aaron one time, because he was being aggressive and he had a No Simple Road sticker on his car.
Dude tries stealing my parking spot.
And whatever.
It's like a camp t-shirt. You're representing camp.
But what I mean is, like, you represent what you do and who you're around. And if you're wearing a certain thing, or if you're part of a certain club, like, that's part of it. You represent. And, psychedelics, they're an empathetic kind of not all of them, but they're an empathetic kind of a thing. And like, why not represent with love and patience and welcoming?
Because sometimes fucking blow it.
I know we blow it. Sometimes we've been burned. And we're watching our back a little bit too much. But I don't know. I guess I'm always going to be the perpetual fool walking off the cliff, you know?
Yeah. Hey, for those of you that don't know, yeah, we do a podcast. It's called No Simple Road. It's on all the podcast platforms.
Listen to us. It's fun.
It is. It's fun.
We have a lot of fun.
I listen to our show not because
I was just crying downstairs, like weeping from our Gordon White episode, which is one of our most recent. It's not the most recent, but one of them.
Talk about a psychedelic.
He
explorer.
allowed this. It's amazing. I'm surprised you don't have Gordon White on this talk. He would have been. All of your guests would have loved it.
I don't know who he is. We'll do it next time.
Check him out, man.
You really do. You would love him, Daniel.
And to all of you guys out there, you know, we love you. And, appreciate you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for being
thanks
here
for
with
inviting
us,
us, Daniel. This was really great.
I was like, are we going to be able to fill an hour, Mel? And then I looked at the clock and it was like 10 minutes to go. I was like, fuck, I want another hour.
It's like, fill an hour. We've got like 45-minute commercials. What are you talking about? Like,
yeah, it was not my concern that you wouldn't fill an hour.
I know. Oh, Daniel, you look great. Thank you for doing this. I'm blessed to be here. And thanks for everybody who took the time. Literally, you spent your time with us. So thank you for that.
We appreciate it.
Indeed. Indeed, you guys rock. And all of you at home, you rock as well. Thank you for being part of the No Simple Road family. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Thank you for being part of the No Simple Road family.
You are,
Immigration family for the night. We have one more thing. We've got a ceremony with the folks from San Francisco Psychedelic Society and Jazz Liamora, a sacred medicine musician. And then for those of you who were, and then another person, a ceremony hall, like a priest in I think Santo Daime Church as well. So it's a whole thing. If you guys feel like sticking around, you're of course welcome to. And we will I'll see you there.
All right, man.
See ya. Love you guys so much.
Take care, everybody.
Peace.